Hi, this is Heather from EasyHealthyBread.com, where I show you easy whole grain bread recipes to feed your family real whole foods. Today we have a recipe that you're really going to enjoy, an oatmeal bread. It is from a new book that I've been reading, which I've been loving so far, and I couldn't wait to share a recipe. So let's get started. First, you're going to want to take a half cup of warm water. You just want it to be a little bit above body temperature, which means when you put your finger in, it just feels a little warm. And we're going to dissolve 2 teaspoons yeast in there. Bingo, just get it all in there. Next, we're going to take this oatmeal that I made the night before. It's really convenient because you can use leftover oatmeal. This is 1 1/3 cups of oats, and it's been cooked in 2 cups of boiling water. As it cooked, I added a tablespoon of salt. So if you're using leftover oatmeal and it doesn't have salt, you're probably going to want to cut the salt back a little bit, about 2 3/4 teaspoon. There's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon, so it's just shy of a tablespoon. So to that, we are going to mix in a 1/4 cup of oil. I have melted coconut oil here. And we're just going to mix it right in this Tupperware that I kept the oatmeal in. If you have your oatmeal from last night or yesterday refrigerated, you're going to want to bring it up to room temperature. If you're in a hurry, it's about a minute in the microwave. Just check it after 30 seconds, stick your finger in, and check it. Then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of honey. You can see I have a new gizmo this week for measuring out the honey. I actually broke my Wonder Cup, so I'll be testing this one and letting you guys know what I think. That OXO brand is a really good brand. I have a lot of their stuff, including this Tupperware, and it's pretty awesome. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be great, but I do miss my Wonder Cup a little bit. So I'm just going to stir this together. This is different than a lot of oatmeal breads that you may have made in the past or seen in the past because the oats are cooked before they go in the bread. A lot of oat type of recipes, you put the oats in dry. So this is going to make the bread just really creamy, and it actually acts as a lot of the liquid in the bread. So it's going to be really delicious, especially if you love oatmeal, and really hearty, great for toast in the morning, sandwiches. This is a really good all-around loaf that most people are really going to enjoy, even if you're a white bread eater normally. So we got that mostly just mixed up with the spoon here. So now we're going to take my Bosch mixer, and we are going to add 5 cups of flour. I'll put the weight in the show notes, but I did measure this by weight instead of cups, and it's just a little more accurate, and when you have the possibility of doing that, it's really nice, just as a starting point, even if you have to adjust it, because you know that it's an accurate measurement. So I'm just going to put all of that in right in my bowl. There we go. And then I am going to add the yeast and the water in. Just try and make sure you get it all. You might want to use your spoon because some of the yeast likes to stick. So if that's the case, just kind of use your spoon. Grab it out. Bingo. And then we're going to add the oatmeal. So like I said, the oats, since it had 2 cups of water that I made it with, it's going to act as the water in this bread, which is going to mean that it's going to take a little while, longer than normal, for the flour to get hydrated, because it has to kind of steal it away from the oats a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit different than breads we've made in previous episodes. This bread, it takes a little time, I'm not going to lie, but most of it is not active time, so it's a great bread for doing on a Saturday morning. I'm making this in the evening after my normal day job, so I'll let you know how long it takes me, and you can see if it's doable for you on a weeknight or if it's more of a weekend bread. So if you do not have a mixer, you're going to want to knead this by hand for about 10 minutes. Like I said, it's going to take some time to absorb that water, so if you're still, if it feels too dry, wait to add water. Knead it that whole 10 minutes, and if it's still just sticky and out of control, start adding a little bit of water. If your oatmeal is a little bit on the watery side and it's starting to, if it's too thin, do that 10 minutes of kneading, and then starting at adding in a tablespoon at a time of whole wheat flour. If you have a Bosch mixer or a KitchenAid mixer, your KitchenAid should be able to handle this, but I don't own one, so I don't know for sure. But it is 2 loaves, so I think your KitchenAid can handle it. But for a Bosch or a KitchenAid, we're going to do about 5 minutes. And then we're going to do the window pane test, which I'll come back and show you. So I'm going to put this on my mixer for about 5 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So I have been hand kneading this dough for quite a while. It's a pretty stiff dough. Like I mentioned in the beginning, since you're using oatmeal, and that's the water essentially, it does take quite a while for the flour to absorb the moisture of the oats. I did plan to use my mixer, but it didn't work out as I planned. So my recommendation is that you mix this in a mixing bowl and then turn it out onto your counter and just start kneading away. It's going to be really flaky at first. You can wet your hands as you go and knead and knead. It does come together pretty simply, but it does take some time and some arm effort. It is a serious workout, let me forewarn you. But take your time, take a break, go get a glass of water if you need to. I'm just going to kind of show you. I'm going to knead this a few times, and you can kind of see what it's like. You don't need any flour on your counter or anything, just like a cup of water. So I'm going to dip my hands in the water a little bit, put my fingers right in, and then in you go like that. Turn it and in, quarter turn, put a little more water in your hands, quarter turn. So this counter is really high for me. So you're definitely going to want to choose a counter where your arms are like just barely bent like this. That's why I didn't knead it the whole time up here. So find a comfortable place, and when you're kneading, try and keep your arms still and just use your body to come in like that. It's going to make the whole ordeal a lot less tiring. So you're going to want to knead it until the dough reaches the window pane stage, which, if you're familiar with bread baking, it's when you take off a piece of the dough like this, and it should be really hard, like to rip apart at that time, and you kind of make it into a rectangle like this, and you just start pulling in it, and it doesn't break. And you want to be able to pull it without breaking until you can see a light through it. So I don't know how well you guys can see this, but you can see lights through like a bunch of different spots, and it's not ripping there. You can see it gets really thin, and it almost rips, and you can see the light through it, and you can see the like little bits of bran and stuff in there. So that's when you know it's done. The 10-minute kneading period is pretty, like, that's if you're a great kneader. I don't have a lot of upper body strength because I don't knead a lot of bread by hand. If I did this 3 or 4 times a week by hand, I'd have arms of steel. So just take your time and keep going until you hit that window pane stage. You really want to hit that. You don't skimp there. And then once you're done with that, you're going to want to shape it into a ball. So we're just going to kind of put all the ends in like that. So you see like all the ends, and then the top is nice and smooth. Just fold it like that. You're going to want to put it in a big bowl. You don't need to grease the bowl. Right into the bottom, the ends down, the smooth side up like this. And we're going to put it in a place that is warm to rise for about 90 minutes. To create this warm environment, it's really important. So what I do is I put my instant read thermometer in my oven, and I preheat my oven until my instant read thermometer says about 100 degrees. Then I just turn off my oven and leave on the light. Oven is a great insulator, so by the time that you're done kneading and everything, it's going to be down to about 90 degrees, which is perfect for rising this. So we're going to put this in our oven with just the oven light on at about 90 degrees for about an hour and a half. I'll show you what it looks like when we come back. Okay, we're back after that long rest. So the dough has been resting in my insulated oven that was just barely warm. for about 90 minutes. I just set my timer. You know when it's done if you put a wet finger in the dough like this, about a ½ inch in, and it doesn't start to fill in. So you can see completely dented. So now what we're going to do is prepare the dough for the second rise. I'm going to take some whole wheat flour, sprinkle it on my counter, just like that, just a light dusting. And we're going to turn this upside down carefully and just gently peel it off the sides of the bowl. You can also use a spatula, but it should come out fairly easily, like that. So you have the smooth side down, and we're just going to smooth this out into one round, and it's just going to kind of get the yeast, it's going to move the yeast around so that it finds a new source of nutrient. The yeast can't move once it's in the bread, so what we need to do is move it around so it can find some more sugar to eat, so it will keep on working. So you'll notice that the dough is a lot easier to work with, a lot more pliable than when we were kneading it. So it shouldn't be too difficult to get this to about 1 inch thick. So I'm going to do that. And we're just gently, pretty much just pushing the air out of the bread. Just kind of a rocking motion out to the sides, like this. And we're going to keep going until it's about 1 inch thick. We're almost there right now. It's not an exact science here. You just kind of want to go until it's about 1 inch thick, like I keep saying. It doesn't need to be perfectly even across in thickness. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in a little bit past the middle, and then fold this in, and we're just going to go around like that. Fold, 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 and fold until we have a new ball here. We're going to set it back in here, and we're going to take this dough and we're going to rest it one more time, again in our just barely warmed up oven. You may need to warm it up a tad bit while you're doing this rounding, and check the temperature in there and get it back up to 90. Mine had fallen probably about 10 degrees, which is fine, but you can warm it back up a little bit. And get this going. We're going to rest it for about 45 minutes, cover it lightly, and I'll catch you back then. Okay, we're back from that last 10-minute rest, and the dough is ready to be shaped into a loaf. So I'm just going to shape my larger dough here. I'm going to set these to the side. And to do this, we're just going to take some of that flour I had already, spread it out so nothing sticks. This dough's not too sticky, so you shouldn't have that problem. We're going to press this into a round. So we just want it to be like when we were taking the air bubbles out of it earlier, about 1 inch thick. So just keep pressing it until it's about 1 inch thick. It won't take much. The dough's pretty soft at this point. And I just use the palm of my hand like that. And keep going until it's about 1 inch. Okay, so my dough is about 1 inch thick here, and we're just going to shape it into a loaf. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but this is just the way I'm going to do. So I'm going to fold it over so it's like that, just a little bit of a gap there. Press that down, then I'm going to fold the sides in like that. Press them down like that, kind of squeeze it together, and then fold it one more time in this way. You can see it's a little small for the loaf pan still, so we're just going to elongate it by stretching it like this and flattening it down. So you're going to want to pinch up this seam down here that we just created. You don't want there to be any air bubbles, so pinch it really hard, get out any air bubbles. It just takes a little time, a little persistence, because the dough still kind of fights back a tiny bit. And now that we have the seam like that, we're going to put it into the loaf pan. I don't grease my loaf pans because I have USA pans and I've never needed to. Any other type of pan though, unless you're really confident in it, definitely grease it. So put it in the pan, and we're just going to press down with our palm to release more gas and to make sure that it fills the entire loaf pan. So you don't want to see any of the bottom of the pan. And it's just going to take a little work to get it into the corners. So just press down like that. And just use my knuckles. You just still want to be pretty gentle with the dough. Gentle is always key with this dough. And just press down with hard pressure, but nothing that would like rip the dough or anything. We just kind of want to be even pressure. So when you feel like you've got the whole thing, the whole bottom covered, you can see like that, you're going to want to rise this for 45 minutes in a warm place, and then we're going to bake it in a 350-degree oven. Since you are preheating your oven right now, you can't use your oven for a warm place to rest the bread. So what I do is I put it on top of my oven because it gets a little residual heat, and then I cover it with a tea cloth. So that's where I'm going to put this and my other 2 loaves, and I'll be back here with the finished loaf. Okay, we're back. It's been about 35 minutes, and I pulled my 3 loaves out of the oven. They are still hot, and you can see they're deliciously golden brown, and my kitchen smells amazing. So this bread definitely took a little while. I think there's 4 raises in there, but it's not active time, and you can be off doing other things. I wouldn't recommend making this on a weeknight unless you're home early or love to stay up late. I've been at this for probably about 4 or 5 hours, and it's worth it. This is a delicious loaf. It's one of my favorites from this book, and it really shows you kind of the versatility and what you can do if you're willing to put in a little bit of effort with this type of bread. I know that you're going to love this recipe if you give it a shot. That cooked oatmeal just has a delicious nutty flavor, and it's slightly sweet. It's really just a delicious bread. You're going to love it for toast in the morning and sandwiches all week, and maybe for dinner too. It's that good. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it for you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out the site easyhealthybread.com, where I give you the full recipe and all my tips that didn't make it into this video. Thanks for watching.